Good morning. Woo! For those of you on the East Coast, it's 6:30 in the morning. I am so glad you are here. What a day it's going to be. I'm honored to be the first speaker this morning. I was originally scheduled for later this afternoon, but regrettably, I had a client who needs to see me immediately. I needed to give her that time slot. So Angie was gracious enough to say, hey, why don't you start off the day, 6:30 in the morning? So here I am for you. What are we going to talk about this morning? You're going to have lots of speakers today talking on a variety of topics, which is beautiful and wonderful. Please stick around for all of their presentations. Some might be applicable, others might not, but show support because all of the speakers today are here for you. We're all here for you. This is a very supportive group. At the same time, it's a very large group. And for someone like me, that hits a little hard. Every time there's a milestone with another 1,000 people that have joined the group, that number might sound great, but for me, it's another 1,000 souls, another 1,000 women hurting. That's hard to wrap my head around. But with that being said, we're 28,000 members. Women come in here for a variety of reasons. From what I can gather, being a moderator for almost a year now, there's 3 camps for the most part. There's others, I understand that, but we're going to talk about the 3 major ones. We have women who come into the group who are contemplating divorce. It's been thrown around in their relationship, or they've been thinking about it on the side and want to get some support to figure out how to navigate it, whether that's because they have children and they need to figure out the logistics and finances. You'll have other speakers speaking about that. You then have women in this group who are definitive. They are going through a divorce. They're going through the legal process, or they are what I refer to as freshly divorced. They just signed their divorce papers. They've made that choice, or regrettably, that choice has been made for them. We'll get into that in a moment. And then there's the third camp, those that have been divorced, that they are in fact divorced, and they're looking for support from other divorced women about how to navigate the next chapter. What to do next, what can they look for on the horizon, what wonderful opportunities are available to them. So those are the 3 different camps. And then we have some others that transpire as well. If you're in any of those camps, you're in the right place. And I want you to realize that though I am talking in general terms, all of us here, the experts, the speakers, the administration, and the moderators, we're all here for you. We all have an area of expertise that gives us the wisdom to share with you. While this summit might appear that we're just speaking at you, I want you to realize that I'm speaking with you. I'd like this to be a dialogue. So if there's anything that I say that really hits you, by all means, drop it into the comments or feel free to DM me. And if there's anything that I say that you're like, no, that feels icky, or anything that any of the other speakers say, or any of the other experts, we're not the be all end all. We're coming to you from either our own perspective or the perspective of what we have curated and learned over time. But that doesn't mean that you need to follow it. This and this are your guiding, they're your guides. Sometimes you need a little reassurance. Sometimes we second guess ourselves, especially when we're hurting. And I want you to know that it's you. It's entirely you. Hopefully, you've made the choice to be divorced. And I know that sounds odd, and you'll notice that I paused on that because there are some women who don't have that opportunity to make the choice. They have been betrayed, they've been cheated on, there's infidelity in the relationship, or he just up and left. Yeah, those are really hard. I understand that. That is my area of expertise. I am a betrayal recovery specialist. I help those that have been betrayed move past the hurt, move through it, not past it, but rather through it. Because if you move past things, they have a way of coming back. It might not be exactly the same way, but in some manner, shape, or form, they tend to whip around yet again so that we can hopefully learn the lesson the second time. And I know that sounds really harsh, but in my experience, being in this role for almost a decade now, no one studies betrayal unless they've been through it. And I've been through it. That's the most gut-wrenching aspect of divorce, is when it comes upon you, you're blindsided by it, you don't anticipate it, you don't realize it, and suddenly, I want out. Those are very, very painful because it's not a slow burn where you see the progression of the relationship starting to deteriorate. And when the D word, divorce, is finally uttered from one of you, I don't want to say it's expected, but it's expected. You've built up to that point. You kind of know it's coming. So your body and your heart can start preparing for it, as painful as it is. When you're blindsided and you've got whiplash, that's a different thing. So what am I going to talk about today? If you have been following me within this group and participated in the other summits, you get an idea of that I am not a rinse and repeat. I do not repeat the same thing. I want to give you brand new information. I want to give you a brand new topic. I want to be well-rounded. I want you to feel the cradle that we all have for you, because we are here to support you through this very challenging, difficult time. Whether you're contemplating divorce, going through the process, or you've already gone through the process. Today, I'm going to talk about how not to bring your ex into your next relationship. Because what happens is they find themselves repeating the same patterns. They fall in love, they have that initial intoxication, children, house, cars, everything, and then either it's a slow burn to a divorce or a blindsided out the door situation. They move through that healing process, sometimes move around it, but then they fall in love all over again. Oh, I've met the man of my dreams. Oh my gosh, he's so much better than my ex. And then they find the pattern repeat. And they're horrified by it because it's like, wait a second. I went through this before. Why is it happening to me again? And that can be extremely painful. It's as if the deep wound that they had that was stitched up and finally was starting to heal got cut in the exact same spot all over again. And that can be very, very painful. And what I work with women on is how not to bring their ex into their next relationship. And you want to be conscious of it. And how that initially starts is that the first thing is not to compare. Because when you compare, you despair. You might not despair, but your next has a backdrop of the ex that he needs to be mindful of. And that can start a relationship off on really unsteady ground because he is comparing and despairing himself to your ex. In addition, to that, it becomes very challenging for him to see that you see him and not your ex, whether he's completely different. If you keep making comparisons, what winds up happening is that 180 degrees starts to get closer and closer, not because of you. Please don't misunderstand me. Within his own mind, and again, this isn't 100%, but this happens more often than not, he will start moving in that direction. And the parallel starts to become very striking. If you're still raw, if you still get those icky feelings, you still get that rage from your ex, you're not ready. Or the next that you find wants to be the savior. He wants to save you. And when he saves you and eventually things are good, he's lost his purpose of saving you. That becomes an issue because he not only wants to protect you, but he was intoxicated with the idea of saving you. Do you always want to be in that damsel in distress mode where you always need to be saved? That's something for you to think about. If your ex was the savior, you started standing on your own 2 feet, that for a variety of reasons might have led to your divorce. He's now searching for somebody else to save. So the cycles just keep repeating. And if you have children and they're observing what's going on, children are very, very perceptive. We want to make sure about parent alienation. Ooh, what kind of term is that? Parent alienation. It's when divorced parents keep their child away from the other parent in a variety of ways. It's usually a control issue because one parent wants to control the situation. The other parent is desperate to see their child or gives up. And there winds up being parent alienation going on. That's very severe when both parents absolutely want to see the children all the time, and one keeps it from the other. It's constantly in the court systems, things of that nature. Children are used as a pawn to get a variety of things. Just be careful with that. I'm sure one of the other speakers will speak on parent alienation, and I don't mean to segue off of that. That's just fresh in my mind as I had a client yesterday speaking about that. Perhaps that will be my topic for summit number 8. But back to what we are talking about, which is not having your ex be part of your next. The other thing that you would like to do, that I would like to see you do, is to make sure that you are in a good place, that you feel strong, that you feel that you can stand on your own 2 feet. I really see that quite often where women take a back seat in their next relationship because they're so wounded from the first, and they feel that sense of just, I got to do this right this time. I got to make sure that I please my man. It's you. You have to feel good in your own skin. You have to have the confidence. And confidence is the most attractive quality. It truly is. The other side of it is the pendulum swings the other way, and women can become aggressive in their second relationship, where again, the comparison, well, don't be like my ex. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't. And they want to mold their next into this Disney image of what Prince Charming is supposed to be. When you have those expectations, regrettably, most times you'll be disappointed. You might be loved bombed at, first couple of dates. And if you don't know what love bombing is, you do want to make sure that you look into that. Briefly, that is when they shower you with so much attention. And for those that have been wounded, it feels so good. It just does. Oh, there's someone that sees me and hears me and understands me and loves me. And oh my gosh, this is great. This is wonderful. Meanwhile, your friends are like, hey, slow down. Slow down. And no, this feels good. I want to hold on to this feeling. I can tell you this pretty much with certainty, that initial intoxication that you have when you first fall in love, I'm not aware, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong. I welcome it, that there are no couples that I've come across that have been married decades that still have that initial intoxication that has run through their entire relationship. It ebbs and flows. It goes up and down and up and down. Yes, you have the initial intoxication, and then the marriage and life circumstances and everything else happens, and it dips, and then they have their highs and their lows, and it ebbs and it flows. It just does. I've never encountered a couple that have the initial intoxication of love that runs all the way through. No highs, no lows, just constant. I take that constant as the heart rate monitor, because when it's flatlined like that, yeah, you get my point. So we need those ups and downs. Those ups and downs allows us to feel life, because life is ups and downs, and those downs allow us to feel those highs so much stronger. And then when we have those highs, we're more ready for those lows, because sometimes we know that it's going to come, and it's just going to, it's up and down and up and down like a merry-go-round. It truly is. Sometimes it's a roller coaster, and that becomes really exciting, and you're going all the way around, but you look over and your partner's there. Your partner's there with you. You're riding the ride together. And in some cases, that's what love is. Love is that roller coaster. Love is that merry-go-round. And regrettably, when going through divorce, we get off the ride, whether we choose to or it was chosen for us. But we get off the ride, and we miss that ride. So when we get a next, we get to get on that ride again. Just pause. It's okay. It's absolutely okay. And if you move into a new relationship not quite ready, still a little wounded or a lot wounded, and you find yourself with a man who is equally wounded, we women have a tendency to want to fix. And when we find a wounded man, we fall into the caregiver role. And I want you to be careful with that as well. Just know that you are worthy. You are worthy. You are worthy to be loved. You are worthy to be seen. You are worthy to be heard. Protect this. This heart, bandaged, elastic, this is yours. And you get to choose next. You get to choose not to have your ex be part of your next. You control that. You absolutely control that. And if by chance your ex becomes your next, I'll say that again, your ex becomes your next, because that does happen. Yeah, you'd be surprised. There are a lot of people that get divorced and then get remarried because they recognize at some point in their separation that the divorce wasn't quite right. That had they worked through it, through the challenges, whatever those challenges might be, even if the challenge was the grass is greener on the other side and he was distracted by something else, someone else type of thing and whatnot, that the relationship, as rocky as it was and how difficult and challenging that it was salvageable. And sometimes your ex becomes your next. But that's a new relationship. That's not the old relationship. It's still a new relationship with new boundaries, with new guardrails, with new vows, with newness to it, along with familiarity to it. So I hope this was helpful for you in some manner, shape, or form. I truly, truly appreciate you waking up with me this morning. If you are on the East Coast, if you are any other time zone, hopefully you're seeing this on repeat. Of course, drop a note in. I appreciate it. As always, I am here for you. As I mentioned, I am one of the moderators here, so by all means, you can feel free to reach out to me. If by chance betrayal was part of your story and you're still having some remnants, still not quite feeling that you've gotten through it, by all means, reach out to me. I have a lot of resources for you. I'm also a published writer and author, 2 books, as well as published articles on Calm. I have been dropping into the group a 31-day highlight of my articles. Again, while they mostly focus on betrayal, sometimes you can replace the word betrayal with divorce. It still rings exactly true. So do keep that in mind. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak, Angie. As you know, I love to talk. I had the opportunity to speak it recently, and in April, I am headed across the pond to Oxford University, and I'll be speaking there as well. I look forward to seeing you next time. Anything you need, by all means, reach out. This group is absolutely wonderful. Please do stick around for all of the others, a variety of topics to help you navigate your way through divorce. Thank you, everyone.